in a good way. So I would like to invite Mississauga of the Credit First Nations, Elder Gary Sue, to share a cultural opening and welcome.
Zo, als je hier in deze kaas, magazine door them, Mississauga and Dow. It's at this time that we welcome you to our traditional territory. Ambe, it means come. Majanda, it means let's go over there. Jiba Nibanda means before we go to sleep and we forget. Abindagego Nakpagingoba. It means the fire has been lit. And they gave you each some tobacco. And that's what we help to smudge the room with. And it's our way of talking to the Creator. And we ask for things. This morning, at 6:30 this morning, I did sunrise. And in our area, it called for extreme thunderstorm. And we were having our annual powwow. And so when we added the tobacco, the clouds parted and the sun came out. And I phoned my niece because she's still there. I said, did it rain there? And she said, no, everything held off and the sun, there's clouds, but there's no rain. So when we talk to the Creator in a good way, everything can happen. And so when you're feeling lonely and you're feeling distraught, you can take that tobacco with you and go down to the river and sprinkle it on the water and ask the Creator to take away this bad things from out of you so that you can be a better person. And that's the song that I sang when I lit this was Chimi Witch. I give thanks to my Creator. Nonde umado te win. And that means I want that good life. And that's what we want for everybody. So I leave you with those thoughts and with that welcoming song so that it goes to your heart and you'll carry it with your thoughts all the rest of your life. Chimiwich.
Kilanaskum Timstahe. Elder Sue is an Ojibwe elder from the Mississauga of the Credit First Nations. His people signed more than 20 pre-Confederation treaties with the Crown, which cover most of the Golden Horseshoe. He is a storyteller and has welcomed Prince Charles, 2 prime ministers, 3 premiers, many chiefs, environmentalists, and others to this traditional territory. He is a veteran and served in the United States Navy. He has been married for 49 years and is proud to have 15 grandchildren. He beat me by 1 year, been married 48 years. So thank you. That was so beautiful, the song and the prayer and the teaching. And I apologize for not doing the formal introduction. That was my mistake, and I'm deeply sorry. Kinanaskumtin, mustahe. Hi. Sorry about that. Thank you for joining us, both in person and on live stream, to celebrate Dr. Alika Lafontaine, who earlier this afternoon officially became the new president of the Canadian Medical Association. Newitski sigamakani ni tuksini and sigasun, unitas kapune hote, Nehiosko Tese Hote Paksamota Pisamete Gayapit. My name is Louise Bernice Haff. I'm originally from the Saddle Lake First Nations. I'm Cree, and I'll be your MC for today's event. On behalf of the CMA, I acknowledge that we are meeting here on traditional Mississauga Anishinaabe territory that has also been home to the Wendat, Haudenosaunee. I think, did I say that right? I hope I didn't insult anybody. And Métis. In making this acknowledgement, we pay our respects to the traditional caretakers of the land. and we affirm our commitment to reconciliation, our shared stewardship of the land, and our relationship with one another. I want to mention, for those in attendance, the music you heard earlier was specially selected for today's event from First Nations, Inuit, Métis musicians from across the country. Now, I would like to welcome past President Dr. Catherine Smart to tell us a little bit about Dr. Lafontaine and to share her own reflections on what it today means to her, the profession in the CMA. Dr. Smart, I hand it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity to say a few words about my dear friend and president, Dr. Alika Lafontaine. It's a true honor to be here with you this afternoon, and there's truly not enough time to share with you how amazing Alika is as a person, as a physician, and as a leader. I had the opportunity to meet Alika initially at the University of British Columbia. I was doing a certificate in Indigenous public health, and Alika was one of our instructors for one of the seminars. And I was immediately captivated and blown away by him. He was teaching us about systems level thinking. His approach to much of the work he had done was such humility, insight, kindness, approachability. He was clearly a leader and someone I knew I wanted to get to know more. I found that morning so inspiring, and it was very clear to me that this was someone that we would be seeing more from. Now, at that point in time, I didn't know maybe we would be working quite this closely together, but had I known that, I would have been very excited because I was really blown away by him. I know many of you know of Alika and some of his accomplishments, but I want to share with you many of the things Alika is bringing to the table and to his role as president of the Canadian Medical Association. Clinically, Alika is an anesthetist in Grand Prairie. He's known for being an incredible team member and skilled clinician. But beyond his work as a physician, he is passionate about making communities better and stronger places and driving change. And I think we would all agree at this moment in time in history, change is deeply needed on so many levels. He is recognized as a thought leader in health system design. And as I already said, I have to agree with that. He really has some incredible ideas, an amazing way of approaching and thinking about complex problems. And really, we need this expertise and Alika's expertise more right now than perhaps we ever had, as our healthcare system is collapsing around us and really deeply struggling. And it's quite clear, I think, to all of us that the status quo is not the way forward. And it's people like Alika that are going to, I think, lead us to where we need to get to. His expertise in health system design was put to use in many different ways. He had the opportunity for leadership positions in several organizations, including Alberta Health Services and the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Canada and the Indigenous Physicians Association of Canada. As part of his ongoing advocacy work, Alika co-led the Indigenous Health Alliance from 2013 to 2017, a health transformation project that involved over 150 First Nations and several national health organizations. And this work had significant impact, with the federal government allocating $68 million to Indigenous communities involved in the project. Since then, Alika has co-founded Safe Space Networks, which is an example of his commitment to thinking outside of the box and doing better and centering on patients and their experience. It's an online platform to help marginalized patients navigate health systems and report their experiences. And I think we all know it's critical to hear those voices if we really want to create cultural safety in our health systems. This project launched in 2021 with partnership with the Friendship Centers in British Columbia. For those of you who know Alika or have had the opportunity to listen to him, you will know he is a powerful storyteller. He freely and generously shares his experiences from his childhood with his amazing family that's here tonight, and all the things that have led him to where he was today. And I can see how he draws from that lived experience and the experience of the people around him and brings that kindness, compassion, humility, and intelligence to all the work that he does. For me, a real highlight of my year as president of the CMA was working with Alika in his role as president-elect. We became, I would like to think, close friends. I experienced much guidance and wisdom from Alika. He was always available to me to hash out ideas, to think about things, to strategize. always supporting me, and always asking me, how was I doing? What was coming next for me, and thinking of ways he could support me in my own journey. That's the type of person Alika is. He shows up for you as a friend, as a colleague, and he's both a mentor, a listener, a learner, and a teacher. He is taking the helm of the CMA at a time that our health system is facing challenges I think that we have maybe not seen before. And I really personally cannot imagine anyone better suited to lead us at this time in history than Alika. His presidency also marks a critical juncture for us as an organization. In our 155-year history, he is our first Indigenous president. And this comes alongside with our commitment to truth and reconciliation and working in allyship with First Nations and Indigenous, Inuit, and Métis communities across Canada to work towards the goals of improving health and health outcomes. Alika, it's my deep congratulations. Welcome to the presidency. I'm so grateful to have gotten to know you and your amazing family. I look forward to everything you're going to do and to our ongoing friendship. So thank you, merci, miigwech, masicho.
Thank you, Dr. Smart. Now to the man of honor, Dr. Lafontaine. There is some beautiful teachings that she has mentioned. The grandmothers and the grandfathers that we use in our community are love, one of the most difficult things to carry out in our daily lives, trust, courage, kindness, sharing, humility, knowledge, all driven by respect for one another and for all human beings and all of the planet and all of its creatures. And Dr. Lafontaine has demonstrated in all of that. Obviously, he wouldn't be here with us today if he hadn't stepped up to show this leadership. I am really proud of you. Congratulations, and it's your turn.
I asked Luis if it was okay for me to sit. There's an old anesthesia saying, never stand when you could sit and never sit down when you can lie down. So the other part is in a circle, I think it strips away who you are and you just see each other. And I've always, to a great degree, felt uncomfortable standing up behind podiums or away from people. Because at the end of the day, I'm not any different than you. I'm just at a different stage in my life with different opportunities. Whenever you lead an organization, it's a lot like raising a child. It takes a community, it takes a nation. And any of the work that I do over the next year is going to be because of Catherine and Anne and Abdo and the CMA staff and the work of past presidents over the last 155 years. And I look around this circle and I see very special people who've taught me different things. And behind me, I have my mom, and I have my dad. Two people that have really shaped who I am. As you do with CMA speeches, you write them out, and I have one here, but I'm actually not going to give it. I'm going to share 3 stories instead that I've thought about since seeing all of you here. And they're at different points in my life, and they talk a bit about the journey of a physician. So the first one, I don't know if I ever told my parents this, maybe the first time they heard this, but they always thought that I was just joking when I said I want to drop out of medical school, but I literally almost dropped out of medical school in the second year of classes. And I had written an exam and I'd gotten, a 79, and to a lot of you, you're like, wow, 79 is pretty good. But I remember sitting there and thinking to myself, I'm surrounded by all of these people who are so much more amazing than me. And I'm not as amazing as them. Why am I here? And I walked over to the professor of the class and I asked them, could we arrange some time to talk? I'd love to get some more mentoring, some more tutoring. And without looking up from the sheets of paper that they were working on, they said, if you fail first year, it's not the end of the world, and motioned for me to exit. And I remember walking out of that office feeling very, very small. And I walked down the hallway and I was trying not to cry because I felt silly, here I am being out of place. I'm not supposed to be here. Now I'm crying in a hallway with people that I don't know. I'm away from my family. I don't have any friends here. And I passed by Val Arnaud Pelche. And Val motioned me over. She was running the Access program for Indigenous students at the time and still does. And she sat me down and she said, Alika, what's going on? And I just let everything out. And Val sat there and she listened. And she patted my hand, she rubbed my shoulder, and she said, you know what? We're going to talk every week. And you're going to talk to the dean every week. And she brought me into the dean's office and introduced me to Bill Albritton, who is one of the most amazing people I've ever met. And for every week until I graduated medical school, I met with them. And they didn't treat me like a first year. They didn't treat me like someone who had a problem. They just treated me like a friend that could sit down and talk to them about anything. And I think without the two of them, and obviously without my family and my wife that I met later, and all the other amazing people that I met during my medical career, I never would have gotten to the point where becoming a doctor really would have ever become something that would have been reality. The second story is from the second summer of me being a medical student. I was doing research with someone named Krishna Kumar. He was a surgeon from Regina who practiced in neurosurgery. Very well respected. He's passed along now, but at the time he had the world's largest study in spinal cord stimulation. Go figure, in Regina. And I had been hyper-focused on doing a very difficult specialty because after talking to Val, I said to myself, I'm going to prove to all these people that I can do the hardest thing that I could imagine. And the hardest thing I could imagine at the time was neurosurgery. Now, that's obviously not the hardest thing. I'll just tell you that right now. But I thought neurosurgery would be the place that I go. And I sat with him and we worked on presentations. He used to call me in at 3 a.m. to reformat his computer and reload PowerPoint. And I did anything Dr. Kumar wanted me to do. And I went through my first summer and first year with him, my second summer, and halfway through my second summer, I started dating my wife. And he noticed over the weeks that my attention had started to wane. And he sat me down and he said, Alika, what's going on? And he handed me a radish like he always did. And I'm sitting there chewing on my radish as we're talking. And he said, are you doing okay? And I said, Dr. Kumar, I'm doing amazing. I met this amazing girl. We're spending a lot of time together. And he said, do you really want to pursue neurosurgery? Is this your heart's desire? And I looked up at him and I said, Dr. Kumar, I never thought I'd ever meet anyone like this in my life. I don't want to lose her because I'm so focused on, this professional career. And he had always been someone who really pushed me. He functioned at the highest level that you could imagine in the world, extremely respected internationally. Everyone knew Dr. Kumar's name. And he leaned over and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, Alika, remember this advice if it's the only thing you remember from me. Don't sacrifice your life on the altar of medicine. And then we went back to eating our radishes and moved on to work. And he never mentioned it again. And for someone who dedicated their entire life, Dr. Kumar was 84 at the time that I was working with him, still doing 12-hour surgeries, deep brain stimulation, spinal cord stimulation, extremely complex surgeries, functioning at a very, very high level. He reminded me that after a lifetime of experience of dedicating yourself to medicine, you lose parts of yourself. And sometimes those parts of yourself, maybe you shouldn't lose. Maybe it's not worth losing. I remember a teaching I received about tobacco years ago, that when you receive tobacco, what you're actually doing is you're accepting a commitment. When you give tobacco to an elder and the elder accepts it, they're actually committing to you that they will teach you or let you ask questions about different things. And I thought when I received this tobacco, what am I accepting? And I can tell you what we accept when we get on this path of medicine. We accept that we're going to sacrifice our time, often our youth, We're going to sacrifice our bodies. We're going to sacrifice our minds. And for a lot of us, we sacrifice our relationships. And in this time when everything seems to be falling apart around us, those sacrifices on the altar of medicine don't often give us what we hope medicine will provide. So that leads me to my final story, which is sharing with you the first time that a patient ever died under my care. So I had a patient come in through a emergency. I was an anesthesiology resident at the time. And it was a motor vehicle accident, and they had, some sort of trauma internally, and they were bleeding slowly. I went to talk to the family, and it became very apparent halfway through the interview that something had happened between the family members. Something just wasn't quite right about kind of the story. And what ended up coming out is that the family member had taken someone else's car without their permission and had wrecked it. And so they were sitting here, obviously in a situation where they needed surgical care with family members that were quite obviously very upset with them, and for good reasons. The car was completely wrecked. And I sat there as a trainee with the staff, and we went through the normal things that you do when you give someone a pre-anesthetic assessment. And we reassured the family that everything would be okay. And as we wheeled them away, I could feel the distance between them as we moved down the hallway. And the patient confided in me as we rolled down the hallway, I really shouldn't have done that. I feel really, really bad. And there's a sadness that I think physicians become accustomed to in their patients' eyes. You know when patients really, really feel low. And as I gave him the drugs to put him off to sleep, I saw that was the look that he gave me. Surgery proceeded, and we realized the damage internally was a lot worse than we thought. And eventually we exhausted every surgical option. There wasn't really anything else that we could do. And I remember how heavy each step felt, walking with the staff to tell the family members what had happened. And I can remember very clearly the picture of the family whispering to their loved one that had now died, their final goodbyes. And we all lined up along the wall as they walked out, and one of the family members leaned in and whispered to everyone as they walked by, and I didn't know what they were saying until they leaned in to whisper to me. And they placed their hand on my shoulder, and I had tears rolling down my cheeks. And they said to me, "I don't want you to regret tonight. You did your best. I know you did." They squeezed my hand and they walked out the door. I sat up for several hours after that, and my staff came by. We had a person who was on call for the OR and someone who was on call for obstetrics, and both the staff came down to talk. And I remember how gentle the staff were with me that night. They just let me talk. They let me talk about how I should have done certain things different, talk about how I should have explained to them the actual risks, how I wish I could have fixed the distance between this family before these things had happened. And they reminded me about how sacred those moments were. There's a very special thing about having an MD behind your name. When we apply to med school, a common question is, why do you want to become a doctor? And in my interview, I actually said, it's the only job in the world where you have someone from a different part of the world come and see you who doesn't speak your language. And because they know you're a physician, immediately tell you about their diarrhea. And, we get the chance to participate in the lowest parts of people's lives. And so we agree, we sacrifice on that altar of medicine certain things. And in return, we get things that are more special and more sacred than I can even describe. That balance has been thrown off in the past few years. The pandemic's really pushed us away from patients. It's pushed us away from each other. And even having time to have those special moments slowing things down so you can give people what they need when they've lost a baby, or if they've lost a friend, or they've lost a loved one. Those times are very, very hard to have now. It's regular in anesthesia practice and in practice elsewhere to have a traumatic situation, a terrible result. In the next 5 minutes, you're on to the next case, the next person. I think that's at the core of why physicians are burned out. I think that's at the core of why patients are upset with us, even though we're still trying as hard as we can to provide the care that needs to be provided. And that's where we have to find our way back. We have to find a way to exchange tobacco again. We have to find a way to see each other again, and to sit in a circle and strip away our titles, strip away our education, strip away all the things that we wear as armor to protect ourselves day to day, and just see each other again. I'm really grateful for the opportunity I have to serve as CMA president. I know that I'll have the opportunity to share in a lot of special moments. Right now, it gives me the opportunity to spend time with people that I haven't seen for a long time. And it reminds me of the different people that have lifted me up along my way. And I hope that as CMA president, I can help to lift up the profession and continue to build on the foundation that past presidents and CMA as an organization has done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lafontaine, and again, congratulations to you. It's about relationship. We so believe in relationship in our community. Next, I'd like to welcome Dr. Paula Cashin. Dr. Cashin is Mi'kmaq, a member of the Holy Bow Mi'kmaq First Nation, and is part of the CMA Board of Directors. As a welcome and gift on behalf of the CMA, Dr. Cashin is putting this blanket on Dr. Lafontaine's shoulder. May I get that? So I set it there and you can, okay. The CMA would like to honor Dr. Lafontaine with this blanket, a quilt made by Alice Olson Williams, an Anishinaabe elder from the Curve Lake First Nations. The quilt is named View from the Window, and it was chosen for Miss Dr. Lafontaine because of its large medicine wheel. Alice includes a symbol of the medicine wheel in all her quilts because of the significance each color has in Anishinaabe culture and teachings. The larger circle, Dr. Cashin, you want to put it on him? The larger circle that encompasses the four colors is also important because it represents our mother, the earth, she who has given us all of life's blessings. In many Indigenous cultures, bestowing a blanket carries a different meaning. The CMA acknowledges, I'm going to cry. I'm sorry. Dr. Lafontaine now carries this mantle of leadership at the CMA as the association's first Indigenous president. We hope that this blanket will be a reminder of the significance of your presidency and our respect for the important role you will play to lead the CMA and the CMA members on this journey of truth and reconciliation. Dr. Cashin has given you this tobacco, Dr. Lafontaine, because it is a fundamental part of the Indigenous culture and ceremonies. It is through the gifting of tobacco that we recognize and show respect of Dr. Lafontaine in his new role of leadership. Now, I would like to ask Valerie Arnault to come forward with a special gift that was commissioned by a Cree artist by the name of Vanessa Hagen. She's a prairie woman, an artist who has a BA in studio art with distinction from the University of Saskatchewan. Her art is a precarious balance of our self-doubt, self-confidence, and inspiration, hard work, and a desire to create. We commissioned her to do this especially for you. Thank you. I'm such a Thank you so much, Val. Thank you. As we get to the end of our program this afternoon, I'd like to ask Dr. Michael Dumont, Vice President of the Indigenous Physicians Association of Canada, to provide some closing reflections. Dr. Dumont, over to you. A pleasure to meet you, by the way.
My dad and my uncle would be a little bit upset at seeing me with my notes in front of me, but that's where I am today. Anin, Michael Dumont Indigenikaz, Wabeshishe Indodem, Shonagan Donjiba, Besho Waseyagami Wikwed. Komaskoyim Skomish, Tlebatuth, Inda, Vancouver, Inda, IPAC, Indabendagaz. Hello, friends. My name is Michael Dumont. I am Anishinaabe Martin Clan, and I'm a member of Shawniga First Nation on the shores of Georgian Bay. I'm very humbled to make my home now in the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples in the city of Vancouver. I'm a family physician and very proud to be the new Vice President of the Indigenous Physicians Association of Canada. Miigwech Elder Gary Sue for your beautiful opening and welcome. And to the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat, the Chippewa, and the Anishinaabe nations for allowing us to gather here for this important occasion. In the years before I started medical school, I worked as a counselor at a summer camp for the Indigenous youth at the University of British Columbia. We hosted high school students at the university for a week and introduced them to mentors from various disciplines, and in hopes of inspiring them to seek a career in various health disciplines. When it came time to hear from the Faculty of Medicine, the response from the Indigenous students was predictable and also very heartbreaking. They said that they had no idea that they could become doctors. And how could they? They would never have seen a Native doctor in their lifetime. In the 15 years since then, I know that sentiment has changed. I know that young people now see the great leaders that blazed the trail that I got to follow. Doctors like Nadine Caron, Nell Wyman, Evan Adams, Marcia Anderson, and now Alika Lafontaine. Representation matters. Indigenous children need these role models. They need to see themselves in positions of leadership, capable of supporting their communities. And seeing Dr. Lafontaine, an Indigenous doctor, as the president of the Canadian Medical Association, speaking humbly to the national media about his roots and about the challenges that face Indigenous people in healthcare, that can make an incredible difference. It can inspire a generation of young Indigenous students to become physicians at a time when we are desperately underrepresented in medicine. Many of us fear going to the doctor in the first place. There are clear reasons behind that. Canadian healthcare systems continue to structurally enable the conditions that allow for anti-Indigenous racism, neglect, and forced and coerced sterilization to persist. It is long past time for Indigenous people to claim our rightful positions as healthcare providers, as leaders, as change makers, to make the healthcare spaces themselves, the hospitals, the clinics, the care homes, safe places for our families to seek care. So Dr. Lafontaine's role here is more than symbolic. It is vital, it is powerful, and it has the potential to be transformational. This country needs voices from structurally marginalized communities in its positions of power to enable the changes that need to happen to make our healthcare system safer and more accessible for all Canadians, Indigenous and non-Indigenous. I offer these reflections today representing the Indigenous Physicians Association of Canada in a role held by Dr. Lafontaine himself not so long ago. We are grateful for our partnership with the Canadian Medical Association and the CMA Foundation, which has allowed us to develop a national mentorship circle for Indigenous medical students, residents, early career physicians, and established physicians across the country. The program includes regional mentorship gatherings and an annual national mentorship forum, which we look forward to resuming in 2023 after a brief hiatus for the pandemic. I also want to recognize and honor the generous support of the CMA Foundation in helping IPAC host the Pacific Regional Indigenous Doctors Congress in Vancouver this past July. That was the largest ever gathering of Indigenous physicians, international gathering of Indigenous physicians. Catherine, I want to thank you for your leadership this past year and for your efforts, your very personal efforts in building bridges with Indigenous physician colleagues and advancing the issues that matter to us. And Alika, brother, I raise my hands to you. I congratulate you for your achievement today and the important emotional moment that this is for us collectively. I can't properly convey the deep sense of pride and joy that I feel seeing you ascending to this role. I offer you my personal and heartfelt support and the full backing of IPAC to amplify and lift your voice during your term. And I'm so excited to further our partnership between IPAC and the CMA as we take on the great healthcare challenges of our time. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Chimigwech, Lama Relations.
Thank you, Dr. Dumont, and thank you all for joining us today to celebrate Dr. Lafontaine and to mark this historical moment in CMA's history. I know I speak for everyone here when I say how excited we are for the next 12 months to come and all that you will accomplish, Dr. Lafontaine, in partnership with the medical profession, Indigenous peoples, patients, policymakers, and many others. Kinaskumpnao kakio petagutek, iwamstaheo anapeo, ewipmutatuma kamio sigmiskano. I'm so thankful to be part of this red road with you and how proud you've made all of us. And now we're all gonna cry. So thank you. I know that what a difficult journey it is to go through medical school, to be the wife of a doctor. I know it, as you know. My husband sits here at 48 years in my family, and I'm deeply proud of them. Hey, can I ask now? Have a good evening, and let's have some food and have a good cry. Thank you.